Hi everyone, I'm Christina and this is my completed series. I saw Caddytastic do this video and I just became extremely interested in how many series I'd completed kind of in the YA kind of sphere. Let's get started. The Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Obsidian, Onyx, Opal, Origin, Opposition, and Shadows, the prequel. The Modern Fairy Tales by Holly Black, the first book being Tithe, then Valiant, then Ironside. The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, the Darkest Minds never fade, in the Afterlight. And the two short stories, In Time and Sparks Rise, The Librarian Legacy by Sarah Rees Brennan, Unspoken, Untold, Unmade, and the three short stories on her website. The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. The Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. These are out of order. Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and finally Clockwork Princess. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. The Matched trilogy by Ali Condi. First book being Matched, then Crossed, then Reached. The Hush Hush saga by Becca Fitzpatrick. Hush Hush, Crescendo, Silence, and finally Finale. The Just One Day duology by Gail Foreman, featuring Just One Day, Just One Year, and the short story finishing up one, Just One Night. The If I Stay duology by Gail Foreman, If I Stay and Where She Went. The Castor Chronicles by Cami Garcia and Margot Stoll. The first book being Beautiful Creatures, the second book being Beautiful Darkness, the third book being Beautiful Chaos, and finally Beautiful Redemption, and also the short story Dream Dark. The Precious Stones trilogy by Kirsten Year, the first book being Ruby Red, then Sapphire Blue, then Emerald Green. The Summer trilogy by Jenny Han, the first book being The Summer I Turned Pretty, the second book being It's Not Summer Without You, and the third book being We'll Always Have Summer. Burn for Burn trilogy by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. First book being Burn for Burn, the second book being Fire with Fire, and the third book being Ashes to Ashes. The Mara Dyer trilogy by Michelle Hodkin. The first book being The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, the second book being The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and the third book being The Retribution of Mara Dyer. The Slammed trilogy by Colleen Hoover, the first book being Slammed, the second book being Point of Retreat, and the third book being This Girl. The Hopeless duology by Colleen Hoover, the first book being Hopeless, the second book being Losing Hope, and the third thing is a little short story called Finding Cinderella. Legend trilogy by Marie Lu, the first book being Legend, the second book being Prodigy, and the third book being Champion, and also the short story prequel Life Before Legend. The Gamble Brothers by J. Lynn, the first book being Tempting the Best Man, the second book being Tempting the Player, and the third book being Tempting the Bodyguard. The Shatter Me trilogy by Tahira Mafti, the first book being Shatter Me, the second book being Unravel Me, the third book being Ignite Me, and the two novellas Destroy Me and Fracture Me. The Pushing the Limits series by Katie McGarry, the first book being Pushing the Limits, the second book being Dare You To, the third book being Crash Into You, and the fourth book being Take Me On. The Twilight Saga, which is not really a saga because there's too many books in my hands, by Stephanie Meyer, the first book being Twilight, the second book being New Moon, third book being Eclipse, the short Second Life of Bree Tanner, an Eclipse novella, Breaking Dawn, and I also own the Twilight Saga Official Illustrated Guide, which I've read through many times. The Anna and the French Kiss trilogy by Stephanie Perkins, the first book being Anna and the French Kiss, the second book being Lola and the Boy Next Door, and the third book being Isla and the Happily Ever After. The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan, the first book being The Red Pyramid, the second book being Throne of Fire, and the third book being The Serpent's Shadow. Percy Jackson and Olympians series by Rick Riordan. The first book being Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. The second book being Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. The third book being Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse. The fourth book is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth. And finally, Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian. The Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. The first book being The Lost Hero. The second book being The Son of Neptune, the third book being The Mark of Athena, the fourth book being The House of Hades, and the last book being The Blood of Olympus. The Divergent series by Veronica Roth. The first book being Divergent, the second book being Insurgent, the third book being Legion, and the short story Companion 4. The Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. The first book being Pretty Little Liars. There are 16 of these, plus there's like Allie's Dirty Little Secrets, and there's Pretty Little Secrets, which was like a 3.5. I've read everything, so more than 16, but I don't remember them all by title order. You're a monster if you can. Or you're Sarah Shepard because she wrote them all. Next up is the Dawn Tillman duology by Graham Simpson. First book being The Rosie Project, and the second book being The Rosie Effect. And my final trilogy, the Dustlands trilogy by Moira Young. The first book being Blood Red Road, the second book being Rebel Heart, and the third and final book, Raging Star. These are all the trilogies, sagas, duologies, series, companion things, everything that I have completely completed. These are all the books that will be in the series. There'll be no more books in the series. They're up. I'm up. It's done. It's done. And there are 32. So I've completed 32 series in their entireties. I'm really happy with that number. That's the same number Kat had. And I hope you enjoyed watching this. And also I recommend every trilogy I've read in here. Every series, every duology. I don't tend to hate books, so if I pick something up, it's because I think I'll love it, and then I usually do. So I recommend everything I've mentioned in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.